Hey, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Beyond Influence. I am your host, Kwame Appiah.
Hey, everyone. It's Scott Sutton. Glad to be here today. Got an amazing guest. I woke up this morning, hit the gym. James has been definitely motivating. So excited to get in this one.
Yes. And before we get started today, I just wanted to make sure to bring a bit of attention to Men's Mental Health Month. Men's mental health, obviously, is something that kind of gets overlooked occasionally. Men are 4 times more likely to commit suicide. And I think one of the main reasons of that is the societal pressures and the difficulty in just finding someone to talk to and be open about it. And so we want to bring awareness to that. James and I are big believers in making sure that you speak out. And I know Scott is as well. And so it's 3 guys in this call who are very, very bent on making sure that everyone focuses well on their mental health. So I'm very, very happy to have James here with us today because he just put out a really important message about it. So James, how you doing today, man?
Man, I am blessed beyond measure. I am feeling good. I'm feeling great. God is good. Life is good. I really can't complain. I mean, I'm happy to be here with you guys. It's going to be a good time.
Yes, it will be. For anyone who doesn't know, James is ex-participant in Too Hot to Handle, one of the most exciting Netflix shows out there. And he has then transitioned his life into content creation, focusing on the health, fitness, mental health, and fashion spaces. So with all those things considered, he's got a lot of information to offer us today.
Yes, we do. We have a lot of information for you guys today. Today's going to be very fun, very special. I can't wait to, debrief and talk a lot about what I do and how I can be better helping for you.
Yeah, I'm curious, coming off the show, you've been producing a lot of content, engaging, built a really great audience. And it just seems so natural. It just seems like you're bringing the world along on the James journey. Talk about before the show, what does the life of James looks like? What are your passions? How did that translate through the show?
Oh man. So before the show, I was actually in college. They picked me up right while I was in my junior year of college. And in my college years, I was the typical college kid. I was going to school, having fun, working out, going to the beach, but I don't say this enough, but I went to school in Hawaii. I went to the University of Hawaii. So college was very, very different for me. But I was the loud and outgoing and very energetic person that you see on the TV screen. And that's me in real life. I kind of carried that into the TV show by just being authentic as I possibly can and just staying true to self, not trying to change myself for the cameras or change myself for the people that I was around. I am a very authentic and genuine person throughout my entire life, and I continue to do it day by day.
Love to hear it, man. So tidbits about college life. Did you play ball in college? Because you're pretty good.
Thank you. Some compared me to Michael Jordan, on my off days, but we're not going to touch on that today. But yes, I played college basketball. I played at the University of Hawaii, and I played in junior college at Orange Coast College in Orange County. So I've definitely played basketball my entire life. That's been my main sport. And everybody sees me and they say, "You play football?" And my automatic answer is no. So I'm a Hoover at heart, 100%.
Yeah, you definitely look like a football player, I will say. And I think, we'll get into the bigger pictures of everything. But I do like to touch on early life stuff. What got you into basketball in the first place?
So I grew up in Dallas, Texas, and the main person that Dallas, Texas revolved around was Dirk Nowitzki. If you guys don't know, Dirk Nowitzki is a 7-foot German who came to the U.S. and played for Dallas. And I grew up watching him my entire life. I had season tickets to every Babs game for the entire time I lived there. And so I watched him, I watched Kobe, I watched LeBron. That was always on in the house every night. And that's just kind of like how my life revolved around it.
I gotta imagine the Texas to Hawaii transitions gotta be pretty wild.
Dude, it was one of the weirdest things I've ever experienced in my entire life. Mainly because I'm not used to seeing the ocean all the time. And everywhere you look, there's just beautiful blue water and mountains, and it's crazy hot every day. It's humidity. It's let's just say it was a very rough adjustment, but we made it work.
Awesome. So you came straight out of school and you got picked for the show. Were you still in school during filming, or kind of how did that timeline go?
That so I was actually going into my finals week before I went on to the show. And that was probably one of the hardest things I've had to maneuver, was sweet talking my professors into giving me a different exam for every single class. So I had to take all my exams a week before with not the best amount of studying done, but I don't know how I passed them all. But yeah, it was definitely a tough challenge. But once I got out of taking the test, I was going to Turks and Caicos. So can't really complain.
Yeah, not too bad.
Yeah, not bad at all. And obviously, you go through the show, you have, your spotlight moment, you become part of the Netflix family. I'd love to know what life is like as a college student transitioning to graduating to becoming a Netflix star. Like, how did you take all of that,
So, believe it or not, the show came out a year after I was finished. So, I didn't really get to experience what Netflix life was like on campus, but I could only imagine that would have been probably the craziest experience I would have ever had. I really wish that I could have experienced that and, lived out that, I guess, fantasy. But man, I can go anywhere in the world right now and people still know who I am. And that's honestly a blessing in disguise. So I'm living it day by day.
So it's awesome. You wrap up with the show, you have this whole new fan base. How active before the show were you on social? Or is it like, do you had to dive in? I'm curious what the transition was like.
So during that, we filmed the show in 2021, and the show came out towards the end of 2022. So I had a whole year to prepare for being a content creator. So after I got done from filming, I went straight into trying to learn how to be a content creator. I was posting 3 to 4 times a week. I was sending out cold emails to brands. I was learning how to be good at what I do now. And that was all like the practice I had until the show came out. And then boom, now you're officially a content creator. It was a very fun transition.
Yeah, that's super cool because like, it's funny when I think about like my journey into it. I remember the year leading up to it, I really did not think nearly as, I would say like strategically about like landing on my feet as a content creator. I was just like, all right, this show is going to come out and then something else is going to happen, So having the knowledge to like start reaching out to brands and start like already building those kind of relationships. And even if nothing worked, you at least knew your templates and you knew what would at least get responses or reads. So I really love that you were doing that. Now, when you got closer to it, did you decide to go with a management company or an agency, or did you just say, I'm gonna do this by myself?
That's the funny thing. It's like when the show came out, I was 23 years old, and I hadn't been able to talk to anybody from the previous cast or on how this actually worked. So in my head, I was thinking, okay, the show's gonna come out, and all these management companies are gonna be hitting me up, the agencies are gonna be hitting me up, and they're just gonna be flooding my DMs. That didn't happen. It didn't happen at all, actually. I maybe got hit up by 2 people, but that's a story for another day. So I had to do a lot of soul searching and trying to figure out how I was going to go from this step to the next step in terms of getting more work done and how far my reach can actually go. So I actually went out and set up and got my own management company and my own modeling agency when the show first came out. And that was probably not the best experience because you're never supposed to take the first offer that comes, and that's what I did. So it definitely bit me in the back a bit, but I mean, that's the matter of trial and error. So I mean, I learned to live and I learned to tell a story now. So it is what it is.
I'm curious, and just as a lesson to new creators, like what were some of the things you would have watched out for, or maybe like protected yourself in that process?
I think what I would tell myself going back then in time and where I was then was know what you're trying to achieve before you go into these meetings. Like have a preconceived notion of what you're trying to go after, or what your goals are trying to be, or where you see yourself in the next 3 to 5 years. Have that kind of in your mind and playing, and take that to the management companies and the agencies. And you market that and you say to them, this is what I want. Can you do that? And if they start coming at you, well, see, we've never done that before, but we've done this. then that's pretty much your answer right there. But you kind of have to have like a preconceived notion of what you want to achieve before you walk into those meetings.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful evolution of becoming a content creator, is that previously, even in the last 2, 3, 4 years, there have been an abundance of growth in resources for people to understand like what to look out for nowadays. Like I myself going into it, I didn't know where to look or what to expect. But now it's really funny looking at season 6, Love is Blind participants. Like the minute their seasons came out, they like already had like 3 or 4 ads ready. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it means, they're finding ways to educate themselves, get into it, understand what's going on before they even get exposed to like the world and their community. So I do think like there's obviously a smart way to do it, and you don't jump out and just think like, I'm going to be super famous, right? But like once you get through an opportunity like this and you get on, TV, and it's going to be a global TV show, you do have to consider what's going to happen and how to prepare for it,
Mm-hmm.
So those are very important things. So I appreciate the evolution of that with us having more at our fingertips. I would say when you first got that management company and that modeling company, did you look out for, and we've touched on this a couple times in recent conversations, like, did you look for exclusives and non-exclusives? Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy. There was so much knowledge that was lacking at the time for me to know what to look out for going into it. And now looking back at it, it's like, wow, I only wish I knew what I was signing up for at the time. But I didn't look out for things like that. All I was looking at was what brand deal have you gotten before? Who do you know? Who do you not know? Like that's all I was looking out for. I wasn't looking through like the fine print. And of course, I don't have lawyers at my disposal to go read through the contracts and go through everything that's in the fine print. I'm reading this on my own, and I'm a college kid trying to go through these big old pieces of paperwork. It's just, it was not fun at all.
I love what you said, and I think it's maybe more profound than just talking about brand deals. Like I think about, and for all of our listeners, like whether it's in life, in relationships, in work, in brand deals, knowing and coming with what you want to accomplish and making sure that the other person has a similar 3-5 year vision and their values are aligned and they're willing to take the time to get to know you and walk through that. It's just such a valuable part of any relationship. And I think, becoming more self-aware of what you want, what you hope to accomplish, what you want out of a relationship, what you want out of a management contract, it only serves to land at a better outcome. So I love that, you learned early, and I think it shapes now how you would approach that. I think the other piece is don't beat yourself up over it and use it as a learning exercise. Like clearly you've arrived on the other side of that experience, and
Right.
You now are wiser and you can make different decisions. So I think that's a great lesson for anyone in any walk.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think like putting all those things together, you've gone through and you've experienced it at that level, and I'm sure you've had your failures, but I'd love to have an uplift moment and talk about your successes. Since you have stepped into this realm of becoming a creator, I'd love to open up a bit on like some things that have just worked out really well for you. That being, either some content creation ideas, some kind of methods that you've been using, or we'll then transition to maybe some brand deals that were really good for you.
Man, it's after you turn that corner of all the hardships that comes from being thrown into the mix of being a content creator, once you can finally turn the corner and really see how beautiful life can really be within this world of content creation, it's eye-opening, honestly. I think I took the methods of sending the cold emails and knowing being in the right rooms to meet the right people and like understanding how to network with brands. I think what makes content creation so special in this space is that you're able to really perfect your craft in front of numerous amounts of people, and you don't know how far your reach is going, but you know that what you're doing is making an impact. And I adapt new things within my content creation techniques daily. Like, for example, I just learned how to do a shot list. I want to say 2-3 months ago. Like a shot list is so vital for your content creation and turning a video into like a short reel into basically a short-term movie. Like you can really learn how to fine tune your work and take it all over the world. And you can take it to multiple brands and you can show people, hey, this is what I'm capable of. This is what I want to do for you. And this is how I think we're going to work well together. Like once you turn that corner, the opportunities are endless. And I think that's probably like the coolest thing that I've figured out about content creation is that the opportunities are so vast that the work is limitless.
Do you mind, before we transition a bit as we keep talking about these successes, do you mind detailing a little bit about what a shot list is and how you went about coming up with and learning about?
So I think one of the craziest things that has happened in the last 2 years is the idea of short form content and how fast short form content is going lower and lower in time. So at the beginning of last year, you would say a reel was probably like 60 seconds. Now you probably can't scroll the algorithm without going through maybe 6 seconds of a video. You know, it's like, how can I hold somebody's attention for that 6 seconds? And one thing that I learned is that if you add a shot list, which is basically changing your camera angles, changing the vision, changing the view, changing the perspective of the eye of the beholder, that can keep people engaged way longer than a 60-second video. So a shot list is basically what I use it as is I will go medium angle, low angle, short angle, high angle, low angle. I keep changing the positioning of the camera in order to better grasp the idea of a story. And I do that for almost all of my videos now. It's something that takes a lot more time and a lot more effort, but it adds a whole different variable to the idea of content creation.
It's funny you saying this now as I was watching back, so your content. There's a brand deal that you shot going to a basketball gym, and you're throwing the sneakers down and lacing them up in a tight shot. Then you're like doing the wide shot of the whole gym. You've got there's all these shots, and it's funny because in the moment you're consuming that content, you're not thinking about kind of cinematography or the construction of that piece of content, but it does show up. And I was watching it and I sat, I think of any piece of content, that one, I sat there and I watched every transition and I'm watching go through. And even though I knew it was a brand deal, it carried my attention the entire way through. And there's something mentally stimulating, visually stimulating through us. It's cool to hear you kind of put that together. And then from my user lens or watcher lens, how I perceive that. It's interesting.
And it's crazy because it's just a matter of trial and error. Like I'll tell every content creator that I come in contact with, it's all trial and error. Like you can learn and piece together from multiple creators on how they did it and what you can do to kind of emulate or kind of replicate what they did. But it's all a matter of what you find to be most beneficial for you.
I think that is really cool because you think about content creation more so now as telling a story than anything.
Yeah.
And you're right. People are somehow squeezing in an entire relationship into 6 seconds where it's literally a shot of them, a few words on the screen, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, that's so relatable. That is the talent of content creation now. And it's so incredible to see people be able to just do that day in and day out. There's this influencer, I forget what her name is, but all she does is she makes relatable content for women. And it's hilarious. If you go through her feed, you'll see SZA and Rihanna and they'll all comment because this girl's so big now and she just makes these reels that get I gotta go look up her name again. I'll see if I find it, I'll throw it on the screen somewhere. But it's just, she makes 10-second videos with some words on the screen, and then you'll see all these hundreds of thousands of comments about, yeah, I've been there before. Yep, I've been there before. And so it's really, really critical, I think, in being successful as a content creator to be able to tell your story before people get bored.
See, it's in my opinion, it's always about how can you make the viewer not understand you, but feel understood. It's that level of relatability that makes people really want to dive into who you are as a person.
It's funny, even back to that basketball video, I was thinking to the talk track you had, and it wasn't this, I'm about to hoop it up, I'm so awesome. It was actually like, hey, I'm struggling. I'm having kind of a bad day. I need to get back in shape. And it's like, I was like, oh yeah, I've been there. Like, I know that feeling of like, I sit there and I just like brick shot after shot. And then you're like, okay, like end of the session, you're like, you're draining shots. But I think that's what makes it relatable. And it's funny because like, you're super fit, you're a great basketball player, played in college, and you could produce content that's completely unrelatable. It could be, I'm never going to be there. That guy's got better genetics. He's, better at basketball. But I think it is that I'm like you, but I still achieve this. That gives people hope. It gives people inspiration. It gives people connection. It's really cool.
Yeah, no, I think that's probably one of the hardest realizations that I had to come across when I first started content creating, was that I was very big on bodybuilding and gym content. And as large as I am, I'm lifting and squatting like 5-6 plates on squat. And I'm starting to think to myself, why are people not resonating with this? And then I'm like, oh, normal people cannot do this. This is not normal stuff. Okay. I think that was probably one of the hardest realizations, is that I'm tweaking my videos to make it so that people can actually feel what I'm feeling at the same time as they're watching the video. It's
funny you mentioned that, because everyone went crazy when Sam Sulek blew up, because the dude, he's a bodybuilder, young guy, but he's just
right.
But his videos, it's just like him in his car driving to the gym. And he's just talking about I got to figure out what to do today. Maybe I'll do some legs. Like, hey, this is my, I feel like crap today. Like, cardio sucks. I got to do it. You got to do it. We all got to do it. And it's just, he's like super down to earth. Yes, he's lifting more weight than any of us could lift. But there is something, he wasn't just trying to be this super boastful guy, just like flaunting everything. He's walking you through like the normal struggle of his day, like waking up, not feeling motivated to work out and still crushing it. And I think that is the kind of content that's working right now, for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I think the way that I see it, at least, is, you've always had the community, or the average human being. And then all the way on the right side, you have these like ultra celebrities, like the Brad Pitts of this world. And what's been cool is, I think, the emergence of the creator and the influencer is this bridge between all of it. And so it does feel like the average human being is significantly more connected to the influencer and the creator than they are to this ultra celebrity. And so they indulge in their content a lot more, which then leads to, hopefully, right, them being more interested in the things that they use and the things that they do, and the brands that they collaborate with. And so I do think it's been a beautiful bridge, right, in between it, where you have access to these people. And we talked to Kay Brown last week, and one thing that she said, which is important for her, was, as she was growing her podcast, one thing that she did a lot was spend time replying to messages and comments about people being like, oh, like, we loved listening to this. And like, she would have full on dialogue, because at the end of the day, if people are investing their energy and their time into you, like, you have to show that you're investing something in them as well. And that's what makes us all so much more like relatable and connected. And then ultimately makes the influencer and the creator such an impactful resource that connects brands to people. We are all connected there. So, I mean, with that transition in place, have you had a collaboration with a brand that you just thought, wow, this was amazing, I really enjoyed this? Like, what has been, if not just one, maybe a couple of your favorite collaborations so far?
Ooh, that's tough. I think my favorite one would have to be Sony. I did a collaboration with Sony Electronics. And that was probably my favorite one, because they took my early stages of content creation, and I'm talking about the early stages, like the stages where I was like, you sure you want me? They took my videos from that stage, and they created a mood board and like a mood video of what they liked and what they wanted me to recreate for them. And I think that was one of the most eye-opening experiences because, first off, I'm a big camera guy, and Sony even reaching out to me and seeing my work is a huge deal in my opinion. But the fact that I was able to convince a brand of that stature that even my early stages content was good enough to be on a global scale, that was probably like the probably one of the best brand deals I've ever had. It's just that it was national. It was, I'm sorry, globally televised through multiple streams, and it was all over the world. I thought that was the first deal that I'd done that went all over the world. And it was just really, it was giving me a sense of reassurance that I was headed in the right direction. And that was probably, it came at one of the craziest times where I wasn't getting brand deals. The month was really slow. No money was coming in. And that was like the reassurance to say, hey, keep going. And that was best deal for sure.
Yeah, if I could speak to that, man, that feeling, man. So, I actually struggled as a content creator to start this year. I didn't get any offers sent to me until March. Right. And I can imagine for people who are creating full time, they're just like, that would be so draining. And it would feel as if you were, I guess, like so unaccomplished, so ineffective in what you're trying to do, feeling like you were so stuck. And so I know that feeling, and that could be such a big moment. And I think that speaks volumes to what people have to do in those times is don't give up on your content creation, lean into it, right? Yeah. Because it seems like they came with a package of what you were doing and they said, this is the stuff you're putting out. This is why we came after you. Like, imagine if you were like, I haven't gotten something in a month, I'm going to stop creating, So I think that is really important. And it's funny because I consistently talk about wanting to become a better content creator. And I feel like I'm just getting to that point where I'm putting out more consistent content, how I'm talking about things that are on my mind and being real. And I feel like since March up until now, I've had probably my most successful 3 months or so in terms of deals coming in the door because I'm being me. I'm just going out and I'm having a good time. And next thing you know, I'll get an inbox message from some brand that I'm like, and I have a brand that I'm about to partner with now that I can't really mention about, but literally if I could talk about one of my dream partner brands, it most definitely would be them because it's an app that I use literally, like I might just be obsessed with, like, when you get into bed and you have those 2 or 3 apps that you always open up. Like this is one of them, right? So I think this was an important moment to reiterate to everyone that like, if you are feeling unaccomplished, if you are feeling like you are not doing well as a content creator, don't let that discourage you from creating content because there's somebody out there and all it takes is one post for someone to see, hey, I liked this content. I liked this person. I like this style. They have to just like one thing about it. Next thing you know, you can get a deal in the door.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I love that. I think too, like hidden in that message too was you just started to connect and show people who you are and be vulnerable and not, you don't need to go overboard, but I think you just brought people along and showed them who Kwame is. And we talked about that before. And I think people want to connect with you. They don't want to see highly stylized photos or some kind of, done up content. They want to see the real you and they want to see your everyday life and connect with you. And, you guys have great personalities and the more that shines through and people can see that person, that spark that they connected with when they started following you, that shines through. So I think, to persisting, not quitting, but then to like opening up, being vulnerable and connecting with your audience.
For sure. And so James, with the platforms that you're on now, man, with being on Instagram a little bit, being on TikTok, it seems like you're having some success. Where do you feel like you like to focus your energy? Where do you feel like you have the most success as a content creator?
I would say I get noticed the most by brands via Instagram. Occasionally TikTok brings in brand deals and occasionally like it's a bit more scripted if they come to me from there. But if it's Instagram, 100% love the brand deals that are coming over there. Our Instagram is definitely the place where I feel like I can be myself the most, and I show my vulnerability the most over there, I would say. So I put a lot of energy into that one.
So I'm curious, we talked about, favorite brand deal you have. What is one brand that if you got this brand deal, it would just be like completely aspirational, complete dream brand to work with?
I got one. It's going to be probably a little strange, a little random. But I'm partially like a travel influencer and a travel creator. Like I do a lot of content creation are based around traveling. And one kind of brand deal that I love doing the most is hotel deals. I work with a lot of hotels, and one of my favorites is the JW Marriott. JW Marriott's amazing. One of the best deals I've worked with. But the one I would like to have the most at the moment is probably the Four Seasons. I would go to any Four Seasons location and do a brand deal with them almost immediately. Like if they called me and said, "Hey, we need you tomorrow," I'm on a flight. I'm buying it myself. I don't care. I love doing travel deals. I love being able to go places and stay accommodation free and be able to just display the hotel to the best of my ability. This is one of my favorite things to do, honestly. So
that's awesome. Well, we'll have to hook up the Four Seasons and try and get you there.
Please. I've never stayed at one, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, they definitely don't come at a small price tag. I remember, I remember reaching out. Chelsea and I were gonna go to one of the big cities in the States, and we reached out to a bunch of hotels. And well, at least like through my experience, what I've realized is partnering with smaller hotels is definitely more fun for us because the perks are there, the service is there. Usually when you get there, there's like champagne for you with a note or something. Like they really think about you, whereas like the larger chains, not as much, and they expect a lot more from you. I've noticed that. But we did get a reply from the Four Seasons to have the like executive penthouse, which was priced at like $25K a night. We ended up not following through with that and going with the smaller hotel because I know I know I think about it every day, but the list of deliverables was insane.
Wait. How many days were you staying and what were they asking for?
So we were going to stay for, I think we stayed for 3 or 4 days.
Okay.
And they were asking for, I think it was like 6 reels. It was like 20 story posts per day. It was like, I know it was like something so large that Chelsea and I looked at each other and we were like, we really want to do this, but we can't, because I think the biggest thing about us as well is while we were traveling, we wanted to experience the vacation.
Right.
And so we're not going to be in that room much. It just doesn't make sense to take 20 stories. But that is a recurring theme. I feel like every time we talk to a creator about what they want to do more, except like Marcel wanted toilet paper, but apart from him, everyone has talked about wanting to do more travel content. Like I feel like I'm a big travel influencer guy as well. So we have to have a massive, I don't know if we grab a cohort or like a group that just like pushes just like travel. We got to just figure out a travel agency for creators. That Absolutely. Right there, there's a hidden nugget in there.
Absolutely. Now, that's one of the coolest forms of content creation is traveling, because now you're learning just as much as the viewer is going to learn. Like you're experiencing it just at the exact same rate as somebody who's watching your video is. So I mean, it's one of my favorites. 4 Seasons, 20 story posts. That doesn't even sound like humane. I don't even know how you would what 10 for you and 10 for her. Like that doesn't even sound real. Yeah. But 4 Seasons, I gotta land at some point. I gotta land it.
I was just say, I think it's a good lesson too for brands. Your audience doesn't want to see 24 Seasons stories in a day. It's just too much. And I think there is this kind of trade-off of investment and payoff and whatever, but there's better ways to accomplish it. And I think the ultimate goal at the end of the day is to gain awareness of the brand, gain affinity for the brand. And I think it's such a fine line between oversaturation, between creating meaningful content that resonates and shines through. And there's no way that if you're producing, 60 stories, it's going to all be genuine and it's going to be unique and authentic. And I think, I love some of the bigger creators. They focus on doing less content and better content. I think about the huge channels like Mr. Beast, Mark Rober. Mark Rober's putting out one video a month on YouTube. That's such a little amount of content for his core channel. He's also got like 20 million subscribers because those videos have a ton of thought, a ton of investment behind them. And the focus is on quality engagement. And so, obviously in the Instagram world, you can't be putting out one piece of content a month, but I think there's some natural threshold where too much is too much, and creating and focusing on quality and meaningful pieces of content is way better.
I didn't even think about the quick math that he just did. He said 60 stories. That's just, oh, bro, like your engagement for all of your stuff would be in the garbage can. Like it would be horrible.
Yeah.
I didn't think, wow, 60 stories over 3 days.
Yeah, because as you're creating these stories and these clips, you have to make sure that, and it's tough to maintain that authenticity that makes it exciting, right? So after a clip like 9 on a day, it's just like, look at this velour couch.
Oh, it's so funny that the first thing I do though, and I bet you guys do it too. If you click on stories and someone pops up and they've got the like 20 little tiny timelines, I'm just like, boom, 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 boom. I don't even look at them. It's like, I don't need to see 27 pictures of your Spanish vacation. Like one, I get it. You're in Spain. Like it's cool. But yeah, it's definitely, it just completely goes the other way.
Yeah, and it just like relates back to being able to tell those stories in shorter frames, in a shorter time span. How can I elaborate this beautiful Spanish vacation in 4 or 5 stories for the day so that you feel like you're there with me, but you don't feel just inundated with every single thing that I do, So I think that is important. And as we transition here to kind of get closer to the end of this, I know we've talked a lot about brands and partnerships and creation. I think I wanted to end obviously with a really important note for the day is kind of in the mental health portion of things. You as a content creator who has a focus on making sure that, you keep yourself astute in the mental like area, and you kind of focus on making sure you're building blocks there as well. When you think about transitioning from, Too Hot to Handle, being on a Netflix show, to becoming a creator, and then in your regular life, I'd love to know a bit about how you keep yourself together, how you keep yourself focused, how you keep yourself, just in that mental space.
Yeah. Oh, that's a heavy hitter right there. Goodness gracious. I'll say, just to begin with, I think going from Too Hot to Handle, when that show came out, my phone obviously blew up, right? I had everybody hitting me up, from people in middle school to people I met yesterday. Like everybody's asking me like the crazy stories, asking me what it was like. There was a lot of people crowding my brain for a long period of time. And I still get these questions all the time. But I think what I do the most to like practice and protect my mental health is really try and practice a lifestyle of mindfulness. And what I mean by that is being able to separate myself from places that aren't real and things that do not affect me. For example, Instagram, not a real place. TikTok, not a real place. Netflix, not a real place. Like there's things that you kind of have to really understand and look at what's around you, and look at things that are things that you can touch and things that you can control. And that's kind of like the main thing I try and focus on in my day-to-day life, is that, I can't control everything that goes on in my life, but what I can control, I need to be the best at it, and I need to make sure that it protects my peace at all times. And man, Too Hot to Handle gave me a run for my money. I'm not going to lie to you. I was in a relationship with a woman that was another race than me, and that was probably one of the craziest things I've ever had to navigate in my life. But going from there to now, it's like I've learned so much through that journey, and I've gone through a lot, and I've experienced what it's like to be just on a good day and a bad day, and I'm thankful for all of it.
I think it's interesting because with the show, we often talk about how some of the things that can be the best opportunity in your life and one of the most life-changing experiences can also be one of the things that tests you the most. And I think about whether that's a workplace that's super, super tough and pushes you really hard. It's a sports team that challenges you mentally and physically and shapes who you are. It can also be a source of unhealthy habits, unhealthy standards you set for yourself, and you can kind of get disconnected from who you are. And I think it's great to have that transparent view of the good in things, the bad in things, and being able to dissociate. The show is not my identity. It is something that impacted my life. It's something that gave me an opportunity, and I can choose to be associated with pieces of it. I can choose to not be associated with pieces of it, and I can choose how I show up. And I love what you said about what you can control is yourself. And at the end of the day, like after the show, after that opportunity, you have the ability to control the narrative and decide how you want to live your life.
Yeah, I really love that. I was gonna say something myself, but I think we could almost end on that one. That was a really, really beautifully said. I think, I guess to get into it for maybe 20 seconds, because I do think it's pretty relevant for our situation. I don't think the wider world, or maybe like our fans within our experience, know the amount of abuse that comes like from being on a Netflix reality show in general, right? Being in the public eye, it can be really difficult. And especially when it comes to the race thing, I think that is something that people find really, really easy to focus on, because it's probably our most noticeable feature, right? That's the first thing you notice about someone, right? And so it's like, okay, what can I take within that and then in some way turn it to really, really hurt them? And I think, when it came to being with someone who was a different race than me, there was a lot of abuse coming from both sides. So that is a really, really difficult thing that I think we deal with it. I hope people going into situations like this have resources. And if you don't have resources and you hear this podcast, feel free to DM me. I'll talk to you about it. Yeah. I think that especially when we think about the mental health space, there are some things that really, really will attempt to break you down. And so I want to make sure that everybody knows that there are people out there who are going through the things that you are going through. And if you need to talk to someone, you can find someone to talk to. And if you can't find anybody within the space that you are in, there are hotlines that you can contact as well, right? So we want to make sure everybody knows they have access to this. And talking is always the start to it. First, you have to know you want to talk, and then you have to reach out and talk. So with that being said, obviously a heavy subject, but it's something that has to be touched on. It's something that's important to all of us. I want to give you, James, the last word here. Do you have anything that you want to share with the world about yourself, either your content creation or your Netflix journey, or something that's important to you that you want to just share with everyone as we part?
Yeah. I think the best way to really end, especially after that topic right there, is definitely not to highlight me. It's to highlight everybody else out there that's potentially watching this. I think the best advice that I could give you in your life is to always live for others. Live for means that are greater than your own. Live to try and give back to the people that you love and you care about. Life wasn't meant to just be all about you. Life wasn't meant to just be the solo act. There's 7 billion people on this planet. What are you going to do to give back to others? Everybody's got an Instagram, right? No, we don't all have an Instagram so that you can show everybody your Starbucks order. No, everybody, like, what can you do with your platform to give back to the people that are in need, or the people that are reaching out and that need help? Like, what can you do to live for others? That's one of the biggest messages that I could portray or give off to anybody, is how can you be better for somebody else? And inevitably, the world would be a way better place if you carried that mantra.
I love it. I think it's a great place to wrap up. So, if you have a position to give to help others, to think about others and give back, it's something we could all be more mindful of. I think many of us are blessed with way more than we need in a whole variety of ways. So, amazing having you on, James. It's an uplifting conversation. Even given the tough subject, I walk away feeling inspired that there are men out there who are supporting everyone and focusing on tolerance and acceptance and lifting each other up. So great conversation to everyone. Thanks for watching the episode. We'll see you on the next one.
All right. Bye, everybody.